Hi, friends. Happy Monday. Happy Labor Day to those of you who are in the United States. Some of you may have noticed that there was no episode last week. I apologize for the unplanned interruption. We actually had my daughter's 16th birthday the weekend before, so that ended up just being a much more full week than I anticipated. Here we are, though. Happy first of the month. There is this really beautiful Greek saying that one of my mentors shared with me a couple years ago, kalomina. It means blessing for the new month. And I've loved this when she shared it with me, I was just like, is it okay if I say that? Obviously, I want to be careful using another culture's blessing, but I think it's so beautiful when we have a new month. There's so many possibilities. There's just opportunity to kind of begin again, and I love this idea of kind of the cyclical nature of things. So, Calomina, happy new month. If you are someone who blows cinnamon across your doorstep on the first of the month, today is your day to do that if you're listening to this when it comes out. Okay, we are in for a really probably wild ride over the coming weeks. We have an eclipse coming up on the 7th, and then we have another one on the 21st. We've got some pretty big planets either already retrograde, going retrograde. So there's a lot of this idea of things that were started within the past year or two are not finished. So Saturn's retrograde right now. As you're listening to this, Saturn just literally overnight went back into Pisces. So Saturn spent almost 3 years in Pisces. Whenever we have a retrograde, that's a time when we're being asked to kind of slow down, review. Saturn in Pisces was really interesting because that was a time when we were asked to get very serious about our dreams and about the work that we're willing to put in to make our dreams come true. And Saturn went into Aries earlier, where it has been until literally today when you're listening to this. Saturn is in Aries is interesting because Saturn is structure and Aries is fire. So there's this sense of some of our structures being burned away. We've already seen some of that happening. So now Saturn is kind of retreating back into Pisces, into a water sign, where it again is going to say, okay, are you ready to move forward into the end of 2025? Because Saturn will be retrograde until November. Are you ready to move forward into 2025 and 2026, knowing that the structures you've put in place may not stand through the next year? And that could sound really scary, but if you go into the future year knowing that that is a theme, that's really important. And this is where I find astrology to be so very helpful, not just in understanding ourselves and our sense of self, but in understanding what is happening and how we fit into that context. Because what happens in the sky reflects on what happens on Earth. We're already seeing structures burn away. We're already seeing some of this, this happens on a cyclical basis in humanity. But those of us in the United States, especially, are seeing structures burn away, are seeing things that we thought were infallible being broken down, right? There's big changes afoot. And within astrology, astrologers have been looking to this time period from 2025 to 2027 as very tumultuous, very rocky, very transformative, right? They've been saying all along, when we go through out of 2027, we're going to look back and go, okay, things are no longer the same. And I know change is scary, but it's a little bit less scary when we know what's happening and we have something to hold on to in the middle of the storm. And astrology gives us something to hold on to in the middle of the storm. So we know that Saturn's retrograde. We know that today it's taking a step back into Pisces, where it just spent about 2.5 years. And it's asking us to really 100% know, what are the structures in place to make our dreams a reality? What are the structures that are going to support our spiritual well being in the future? What are the structures that within your own birth chart look at that house that Pisces is in and say, are your structures good for that area of your life? For me, Pisces is in my sixth house. That's my house of health and sickness, of body, of kind of daily routines. And so this is kind of one last ask from Saturn going, okay, we're heading into 2026 where our structures are probably going to continue burning away to a certain extent. Is your health, are your routines, are your daily habits ready for this? That's the question that's being asked. And I can go into 2026 terrified of this, or I can go in going, no, I've done the work of my daily routines being what I need them to be. And if I haven't, now is my chance to do that. In reality, my health and my daily routines are not 100% where I'd like them. So these next few weeks are that time to go, okay, let's make sure that this is what's going on, because then we also have a new moon and an eclipse on September 21st that is going to be opposite Saturn and Pisces. So again, this theme is coming up of Saturn's in retrograde, and over these next couple of weeks, we are being asked to get ultra clear on our structures, because what we put in place right now is going to bolster us as we head into probably a tumultuous 2026. That's the power of astrology. Again, I don't want to scare you. This doesn't have to be that life as we know it is going to completely fall apart. Life as we know it is going to change. It always changes, whether we're here for that or not. But we know that this is a time period in which astrologers have long said, buckle up. This is how we buckle up. As we go into this next year and a half, 2-year period, especially with Saturn in Aries, and there's other planets that play with this too, but I'm really just focusing on this at the moment. Some of our structures are going to burn away. We're going to have other things. Neptune is right there with Saturn. We've got Uranus is in Gemini. Not going to go deep into those right now, but I just want to acknowledge there's other planetary things at play. Pluto's in Aquarius. It's having a little retrograde action coming up too. Okay, with all of this, how do we find strongholds to help us feel secure in the storm, to help us kind of weather the fire as it may be, right? What does fire do? When you put a precious metal into fire, what comes out is only the precious metal and not the stuff that was maybe mixed into it. So that might be a helpful metaphor or vision for you to hold on to, that what do you want to come out of the fire with? What's the gold that you want to be holding when you come out on the other side of this? This isn't easy, right? This is pretty challenging to voluntarily go forward knowing it's going to be hard and challenging potentially. But we don't want to go forward blind. You don't want to walk into the heat without your protection. So there's some things that I do. One, I'm actually working on a couple of year ahead readings right now. These are so cool because on your birthday, you enter into a new theme each year. So for me, I'm 43 this year. I entered into an eighth house year, which is taxes, debt, death, other people's money, inheritance. Those are all eighth house themes. So I went into this year knowing, hey, I need to pay extra attention to any debts that I have, to my taxes. I actually came into this year with some tax issues and hired a new CPA, have been working with him and fixing those tax issues. So I wasn't surprised when that happened. Was it hard? Yeah. But I wasn't surprised because eighth house year tax issues, that makes total sense to me. So knowing that when things come up, they're not happening in a vacuum, right? One of the readings that I'm working on right now, the person is going into a 12th house year. This is a time for rest and retreat, because if we don't rest during a 12th house year, that can lead us to self-sabotage. That can lead to isolation and depression. It can lead to mental health issues. These are things that if we know about them, they help us through whatever the challenges are, whether they be communal, global, or individual. Somebody in a second house year might have a lot more going on with their own finances and the way that they earn money, the way that money comes to them versus the way that money's going out through debt or taxes or things like that. That's more like shared resources, eighth house. So knowing your year can be incredibly, incredibly helpful. Along with that, every year we go through a monthly theme, right? So just as we cycle through each of the houses on an annual basis, we cycle through on a monthly basis. And so although I am in an eighth house year, each month I'm going through a different kind of subplot or sub theme. And so I was able to look at that. And this was really helpful over the summer because I knew going into the beginning of July that it was going to be really fun. It was going to be a great time. I didn't know what all that would be, but that happened to be when we did a family camping trip. I got engaged during that week. We had extra kiddos with us. We had my partner's kids. We had some friends come over. There was just a lot of like fun, expansive things happening. And then I knew at the end of July that I was going to be facing some challenges. I didn't know for sure what those would be. And honestly, I was a little bit scared because my kids were flying to Tennessee at the end of July. And so that terrified me. But I kn when I got sick at the end of July, I knew, "Okay, yeah, this is my challenge, my time to, like, slow down, step back." I was sick for 3 weeks, and that I can look in my chart, and I was able to look ahead knowing there would be a challenge. I didn't know what it was. Astrology doesn't always some people can use it this way, I can't, predict a specific event. But we see themes, we see energies, we see times that are gonna be pretty easy and times that are gonna be challenging. We see times that are going to be expansive and times that are gonna be constricting. And we are going into a turbulent season with eclipses. They are not easy, especially if they're lighting up our annual theme or our monthly theme, or if they happen to be on a degree where we have something going on in our chart that could be impacted. And this isn't unfortunately, this isn't something where I can share the how-to of all of this on a podcast, right? I'm happy to do readings for you, to walk through your annual theme, to look at your monthly themes, to see when things could be particularly challenging or particularly expansive and easy for you. But this is what astrologers do. This is why when you get a reading, you're not paying 50, 60, $70 for a reading because they're looking at multiple layers of not only your chart, but the current and the future charts to help you see what is going to be the most impactful, most effective way for you to weather whatever's coming. Okay, let's bring this back into the next few weeks because I don't want you to be freaking out about 2026. It's not that it's going to be a bad year. I think we'll need to spend some time talking about 2026 and I'll give you more resources as we get closer. But just looking at the next few weeks, because we did already talk a little bit about Virgo season. We talked about the fact that we're having 2 new moons. So already, even without throwing in the fact of eclipses in, anytime you've got 2 new moons or 2 full moons in a sign, we stop and we pay attention. Okay, this is a big moment for us collectively and in all of our cycles. So we've already had one Virgo new moon. We're going to have a full moon on September 7th, and that is an eclipse. And so the moon will be in Pisces, the sun will be in Virgo. The full moon on September 7th is at 11:08 a.m. It's the first of 2 eclipses for this eclipse season. The best piece of advice I can give you for eclipse season is drink lots of water. It's so simple, but our bodies are made up of water. The moon impacts the push and pull of the tides, the water. We are going to be impacted. So this helps to ease some of the tension, the energetic tension of the way that the moon is working out. So drink lots of water, rest. This is not a time to hustle and grind. This is a time to reflect. Again, Saturn is in Pisces. It is retrograde. I love Chani as a resource for this. She has an incredible blog post that you can look at all about these eclipses. I will actually post a link to that in the podcast because I think it's so important. So rather than me trying to regurgitate some things she has said. I want to point you back to her because she's such a um the the astrology insights that she offers are just insanely helpful, very practical. Okay, the we have the full moon eclipse, we have a new moon eclipse coming up September 21st, and this is the one that I really want to get to. This is going to be happening opposite our Saturn retrograde in Pisces because when we get back to the new moon, moon and sun are together. So they are in Virgo together at that point, opposite Saturn retrograde in Pisces. This is the moment, y'all, where we have to go, okay, for the last time, we've been working through this for about 3 years now, a little bit less than that. For the last time, we are looking at what structures are going to be in place to make sure that our dreams and our ideals can become a reality. What area of our life, of our own chart, does Pisces encompass? So, what house is it in? Like I said, for me, it's sixth house. For you, it's going to be different. What structures need to be in place in that house? Because Saturn is going to go direct again in November. And at that point, once it goes back into Aries, that is when this burning down of the structures that can't stand, that aren't made with precious metal, that aren't made with our precious values, is going to be happening. So I really think that this new moon eclipse on the 21st is insanely important for us as we think about how do we want to prepare for whatever challenges come over the coming year and a half to 2 years. It's not even because astrology promises that it's going to be challenging or says that it could be challenging. It's life is challenging, right? So this is your opportunity to say, am I ready to take on the challenges? And look, Aries is ruled by Mars. Mars, yes, it has to do with war. It also has to do with courage, leaning into the courage of Aries, the courage of Mars with our structures, our values in place. That is what I think we all need to know for these coming weeks is slow your roll, drink lots of water, do yourself a favor and spend some time looking at your chart. Where is Pisces in your chart? What else is in there? Get to know it and get to know how having structures in place in your life and systems in place in your life in that area is going to benefit you going forward. Virgo is all about service, but service from a whole self. This is the opportunity to go, how can I be my whole self? Because I am going to be called into service. When life gets challenging, I love that Mr. Rogers quote where he says, when things are, this is a paraphrase of it, but when things are hard, when something really difficult happens, look for the helpers. We're going to need to be the helpers when things are hard. But we can't be the helpers if we are not whole. So, where can we make ourselves whole? Y'all, I would love, love, love to offer you a reading where we can look at either your Saturn, where's Saturn in your chart, where's Pisces in your chart, where is this kind of retrograde happening? Where's this retrograde happening in your chart? As well as what is your current theme and what is your theme for your next year? Our themes change on our birthdays. This is going to be really important for you going into the end of 2025 and heading into 2026. I am going to be raising my rates on my readings going into the new year, potentially before that. But right now, my rates are 177. That is insanely low for an astrology reading. I want to continue that, and I'm not going to be able to for long. So I am going to put a link to book a reading. You can let me know in there what kind of a reading you're looking for. Is this a year ahead? Is this you want to dive deeper into what's going on in Pisces and Aries of your chart and how you can prepare for whatever challenges might be coming, how you can show up as your whole self in service to others as we go into this. I always go back to our sun, moon, and rising sign because our sun is our purpose, how we shine. Our moon is our own needs, what we need emotionally, intuitively, what we need to feel satisfied and successful. And our rising sign is the gifts that we show up in life with, our unique lens that we see the world through. And we have to know those again as we think about being in service as our whole self. We have to know those. Knowing how you show up uniquely as you in all of these. All of that is stuff that we get to in a chart reading. They're so fun. I love doing them. So at least for through Virgo season, I'm going to keep it 177. I'm not sure exactly when I'm going to raise that, but I just know that that's going to have to happen because of the amount of work and time that goes into this. But I would love to offer that to you now if you're thinking, how can I be preparing for this? And for those of you who are thinking, what does this have to do with career? There are times in our career when we need to be really focusing on ourselves and not trying to grow our career necessarily. And there's times both each year we go through a month of different themes. But again, with these themes sticking out for a whole year, we have months throughout the year that are going to be really good for making changes, for taking risks, for big action in the area of our career. And there's going to be months that would be to our detriment to try to do it during that time. So readings can help with that. Same thing with years. There's years when career growth is not necessarily going to be our big thing for that year. But there's going to be other years when they are. I'm coming up to, if I'm in an eighth house year now, next year I'll be nine. And then the following year is 10th. That's going to be a big year for my career. So I know that coming up, I've got about a year and a half to kind of think through, what do I want that to look like? What do I anticipate when I go into 2027, knowing that that is a year that's going to be big for my career? And each time that I go through a 10th house month, that also is one of those where I look at, okay, I really want to focus on career specific themes for this month. So those are things we can look at too. Friends, I hope I didn't scare you. That is not at all my goal. I want you to be aware. I want you to know, flying is so much like this. I know when I'm flying, when the pilots say, hey, there's turbulence ahead, you need to put on your seatbelt. And then I feel the turbulence. I am so much less scared than when the turbulence is sudden and no one has warned me. I want the pilot to tell me that there's turbulence ahead. And I am telling you now, there's turbulence ahead. We've already experienced some. We're coming into more. And so this is your chance to buckle up. I am so thankful for your time with me. I am thankful that you are on this journey with me. If there's other things that I can do to support you, especially through this eclipse season, through these next few weeks, reach out. hello@mostforyou.com. I'm more than happy to talk. If you're not sure if a reading is right for you or not, just book a 15-minute check-in call. Happy to do that. All those links will be there. I'll post a link to Channy's article. I'll post the link to book a reading. I'll post the link to book a 15-minute call. Would love to support you through this part of our turbulent time, through any turbulence coming up. I know I've used a few metaphors through this, but hopefully that's helpful for you. And hopefully you can see this as you get to be aware you're not going into this blind. Okay, friends. Have a wonderful Monday, a wonderful week, a wonderful month. Kalamina for the month ahead.